In 2025, science named the rise of renewable energy as its breakthrough of the year. No longer driven by subsidies, green energy is now affordable enough for people all over the world. Much of this shift is fueled by China's investment in clean technology over the past few decades. Those efforts are paying off. In the first half of 2025, renewables generated more electricity worldwide than coal. But the shift towards renewables wasn't the only noteworthy trend this year. From medical leaps to deep space telescopes, here are 9 other advances that stood out in 2025. Scientists have uncovered that cancer steals from healthy neighbors to fuel its spread. They had previously observed that cutting off a tumor's nerve connection can slow its growth or even cause it to shrink. To understand why, researchers grew cancer and nerve cells together, labeling the neurons mitochondria, the organelles that power cells, to track their movements. When they observed the interactions in real time, they saw something surprising. The nerve cells were sending mitochondria to cancer cells across tiny bridge-like structures. To see how much of an advantage this was, scientists designed mouse experiments where cancer cells would turn permanently green once they'd acquired mitochondria from neurons. While only about 5% of the original tumor cells took up the mitochondria, these supercharged cells were seen in far higher proportions in areas that the cancer had spread to. Understanding this cellular swap could help researchers devise treatments to stop neurons from supercharging cancer cells. One of our long-lost relatives finally has a face. These ancient humans, called Denisovans, are closely related to Neanderthals and modern humans. They were first identified in 2010 based on DNA extracted from bone fragments found in a cave in Siberia. Since then, other small fragments have been found scattered from Taiwan to Tibet, but no skulls or complete individuals. It turns out the so-called Dragon Man skull, discovered over 90 years ago in China, was the missing piece. By turning to an unusual sampling source, dental plaque, they were able to link DNA of this 146,000-year-old skull to previously sequenced Denisovan samples. Researchers can now use this skull as a reference to identify other fossils that might already be in research collections. If they find more individuals, it could help settle the debate of whether Denisovans are actually their own species or a subspecies of Homo sapiens. A newly identified gene might help rice beat the heat. Hot nights are a big problem for rice, as they have to burn through more of their energy reserves to stay cool. This diverts energy away from growing, resulting in chalky, unappetizing rice and a lower overall yield. Over the past decade, scientists grew over 500 different varieties of rice in areas prone to nighttime heat. By crossbreeding the varieties that perform best, they discovered a key gene on chromosome 12, which they named QT12. This gene's activity ramps up in response to heat, which ultimately results in less protein and more starch getting stored in the tissue that makes up the grain. By either turning this gene off using gene editing, or using conventional breeding to create rice with a version of the gene that doesn't respond to heat, scientists were able to produce better-tasting rice and a far higher yield. Breeding the protective variant of QT12 into other kinds of rice, like cool-weather Japonica strains, could help them prepare for the hotter nights to come. Precision medicine took a major leap forward in 2025. KJ Muldoon was born with a rare genetic condition that makes eating protein extremely dangerous. When protein breaks down in the body, it produces a toxic byproduct, ammonia. KJ's condition, CPS1 deficiency, prevents the liver from producing a key enzyme that can break ammonia down into harmless waste. By using a base editor, a more precise version of the CRISPR gene editing tool, researchers were able to fix the single misspelling in the gene causing the disease. After receiving infusions of nanoparticles with genetic instructions for the base editor, KJ was tolerating more protein in his diet and required less medication. While it's unclear how long these effects will last, these positive results helped researchers get approval to adapt this custom base editor to treat 5 more patients with similar disorders. A new type of telescope is poised to change the way we study the night sky. Resting on top of a mountain in Chile, Vera Rubin Observatory saw its first light in June. Early this year, it'll begin recording the entire sky in unprecedented detail, every 3 days for 10 years. These repeated starlight surveys will build the most detailed 3D map of the cosmos ever created, powered by the world's largest digital camera. In seconds, optical fibers will transmit images from the Chilean desert to banks of computers in California for analysis. Intelligent algorithms will help researchers sort through all of the images to identify potential astronomical anomalies. This deluge of data will influence all areas of astronomy and increase the population of known objects in our solar system many times over. Scientists will have a chance to observe cosmic explosions, see how galaxies form and evolve across time, and study how unseen dark energy boosts the expansion of the universe. The upcoming decade of observation will lead to many new breakthroughs. The success of several pig kidney transplants in 2025 may mark a new era for xenotransplantation, the process of transplanting organs from a non-human species to humans. A man in New Hampshire received a pig kidney that lasted nearly 9 months, while a transplant in China worked nearly as long. To make the transplant a success, both approaches started in the lab, gene editing the pigs before they even started to grow. This included knocking out pig genes for proteins that can trigger a human immune reaction, as well as adding human genes to dampen immune responses. Scientists are trying additional ways to increase the longevity of these transplants, from developing more effective immunosuppressive drugs to transplanting a pig's thymus along with its kidney. In light of these successes, 2 US companies have now been approved for clinical trials, the first ever for xenotransplantation. Large language models, or LLMs, like ChatGPT, have hit mainstream use. An advanced version of Google DeepMind's Gemini solved 5 out of 6 problems at the International Math Olympiad, earning a gold medal. The feat demonstrates a level of mathematical reasoning that experts had not expected to be possible for AI for decades to come. Chema, an organic chemistry synthesis assistant powered by Meta's Llama LLM, identified optimal conditions for a complex and previously unreported chemical reaction critical in many pharmaceuticals. In biology, Google's AI co-scientist flagged potential liver fibrosis treatments from existing compounds. But it wasn't all wins for AI. At the first Open Agents for Science conference, AI agents served as both authors and reviewers for research papers, alongside human partners. While some researchers praised the ability of AI to speed up parts of the research and writing process, others offered warnings about misinterpreted methods, code that required human debugging, and incorrectly cited or completely made-up research papers. Gonorrhea affects more than 80 million people every year. While treatable, existing therapeutics for this sexually transmitted disease have been falling, as the bacterium that causes the infection has developed resistance to many antibiotics. But in 2025, the first new gonorrhea treatments in decades were approved by the FDA. The new treatments are both just as effective as cephalosporins, the current leading class of antibiotics, but are different in their approach and administration. Cephalosporins disrupt bacterial cell wall synthesis, eventually causing infectious cells to burst. Instead, the new antibiotics disrupt the bacterium's ability to reproduce, thereby ending infection. Both newly approved compounds can also be taken orally, a major advantage over the injections needed for current antibiotics. The new treatments are a promising advance, but researchers are also wary of how quickly bacteria could develop resistance against them. For decades, scientists have been grappling with a discrepancy that seemed like a tantalizing hint of new physics. In 2025, researchers found a solution that could be explained by the Standard Model, the theory that explains the interactions of all known elementary particles. The discrepancy involved the muon, a subatomic particle similar to the electron but heavier and unstable. The muon's magnetism depends very slightly on other particles, flitting in and out of the vacuum of empty space around it. One long-running experiment had suggested that the muon's magnetism differed from what the Standard Model would predict. But in 2025, theorists were able to calculate the muon's magnetism from scratch, using a demanding numerical technique called lattice gauge theory. In the new calculations, Standard Model particles called quarks and gluons contribute more to the muon's magnetism than previously estimated. Shortly after the theoretical calculation was posted, researchers with the muon G-2 experiment announced that they had made the most precise measurement to date of the magnetic moment of the muon. The measurement agreed with the calculation arrived at by theorists, confirming that the standard model can in fact explain muon magnetism. 2025 proved to be another notable year in science all over the world, and new achievements will undoubtedly unfold in 2026.